As we all know, Pokémon is a series that is very family friendly. Anyone can play the games, whether you're young or old. However, that does not mean, unfortunately, that it doesn't get people into trouble. Today we're going to be talking about 5 times that people's Pokemon-related shenanigans actually got them arrested. These are all kinds of wacky and hilarious, to be honest, so kick back and relax, and let's dive right in. Beginning our crime-filled escapade, let's start with a time that a man was literally arrested for leaking unreleased Pokemon online. Back during the days of Gen 5, or shortly before Gen 5 was set to begin I should say, a man in Japan uploaded some pictures online of various Pokemon from Black and White, such as Pignite, that had not yet been revealed to the public. This was done a little over 2 weeks before Pokemon Black and White were set to release in Japan, and police were subsequently alerted to the situation and later detained the man for copyright infringement. This is actually similar to another story from 2019 as well, where the Pokemon Company sued a leaker who leaked Pokemon Sword and Shield's new Pokemon ahead of the game's release date. It's obvious that this is a pretty big no-no to do, especially when you're dealing with a series as big as Pokemon, but the fact that people have legitimately been arrested for it in the past is pretty wild. While people may have been arrested for leaking Pokemon early, you wouldn't exactly call those people criminals either. However, this next story involves a more hardcore criminal that was successfully apprehended thanks to Pokemon. Shortly after the release of Pokemon Go in 2016, a story emerged out of Michigan in the United States where a man playing the game who was a wanted criminal at the time was arrested because he showed up to the local police station, which had been marked as a gym, resulting in the cops there recognizing him and later arresting him. The man was wanted for breaking and entering, but also had a warrant out for his arrest for failing to appear for sentencing for that crime. What adds insult to injury here, however, is the fact that this took place in the city of Milford, Michigan, which only had a population of under 6,500 people at the time, making it all the easier for police to recognize this guy. The mania that ensued when Pokemon Go first released was something to behold for sure. Literally nobody was not playing the game for the first month or so after it released, but criminals literally showing up to the police station to catch a Pidgey or challenge a gym is a whole new level of stupid, but is also a good indicator of just how wild the craze was at the same time. So that last story involved a lot of stupidity, but it doesn't get any less wacky from here, trust me. This next story involves a person getting arrested for fraud involving Pokemon. Earlier this year, in 2021, a man in Japan was arrested for allegedly forging popsicle sticks of all things in order to obtain some sought-after Pokemon cards. In 2020, Japanese ice cream maker Akagi Nugyo, which I know I just pronounced wrong, ran a contest involving their Gari Gari Kun popsicle/ice cream brand, where customers could potentially win special Pokemon cards created for the promotion. The contest was a Willy Wonka-style affair where special popsicle sticks reading, "You win a Gari Pokemon card," could be found upon eating the popsicles. These popsicle sticks could then be sent into the company in exchange for the Pokemon cards, which prompted one man to send over 2 dozen allegedly fake popsicle sticks to the ice cream makers, hoping to get a bunch of cards. After receiving so many sticks from one person, however, the company grew suspicious and contacted police, which resulted in the man ultimately being arrested on suspicion of fraud. Although this involves someone getting arrested, it kinda warms my heart in a weird way at the same time, because this is something you would imagine happening in the 90s at the peak of Pokemania, so it's nice to see people still so passionate about Pokemon after all these years. Wrapping back around to another story involving Pokemon Go, because you know we weren't just gonna have one of those, we have another case of a wanted criminal being caught thanks to the game. Shortly after the game released in 2016, a man in Germany had successfully been avoiding a 6-month prison sentence that he had a warrant out on him for. However, the allure of Pokémon Go was just too much for him as he ventured out with his friends to play the game, where police were able to discover that he had a warrant out for his arrest and subsequently arrest him. You would think if you were a criminal on the run, you would have more important things to worry about than catching Pokémon on your phone. But I guess as many of us know, the urge to catch 'em all is often too powerful to overcome, even if you're avoiding jail time. Next, we have the most recent occurrence on this list, which you possibly might remember hearing about earlier this year. In February, a man in Japan was arrested for selling a hacked Sobble, which violates the country's Unfair Competition Prevention Act. The Sobble was apparently sold to a buyer for $42 back in 2020, prior to the man being detained. The police definitely got a hardened criminal off the streets with this one, as the man had allegedly been selling hacked Sword and Shield Pokemon ever since the games came out, making nearly $11,000 in the process. Obviously, hacking Pokemon to be statistically superior isn't the best thing in the world to do, as it's basically cheating, especially if you're using them for competitive play. But I think I've got to give more blame to the buyers in this situation. There are tons of checks in place to prevent hacked mons from being used, especially in tournaments and whatnot, and a bunch of people have also been banned from Sword and Shield for having hacked Pokemon as well. So did you really think you were gonna get to use those mons without anybody noticing, and you paid good money for them on top of that? Definitely some questionable decision making on both sides of this scenario, which ends up making for a pretty good story. So those were 5 people that got arrested thanks to Pokémon. Hopefully you've all learned something today about how to be a good upstanding citizen, and also how to use your brains and not be a dummy. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and you can support the channel further by listening to my Pokemon remixes on Spotify and by watching my Pokemon Cardinal series here on YouTube, which is sincerely appreciated. With that said, I will see you all soon in another video, and until then, as always, I love you all, and I will smell you guys later.